Hi everybody, welcome back to Sunshine Soap and Candle Company. Today I'm going to be making my winter and holiday themed candles, so I thought I'd bring you along for the process. In this video today I'm going to be going over my step-by-step process and tutorial. I'm also going to be sharing with you the formula that I used for this candle, and this is the same formula that I used in the fall candle making video that I shared several weeks back, and also the same formula as last year 2024 fall candle formula. I'm going to be putting the amounts in the description box below for you as well, but if you're someone that likes a full detailed step-by-step tutorial along with written amounts and percentages and links to where you can purchase everything, head over to my Patreon campaign. I do have this formula posted over there as the 2024 fall candle tutorial. So if you like that, head on over there. The link to my campaign is in the description box below. There's a ton of candle and wax melt information over there for you as well, and lots of resources. If you're into soap making or cosmetic making, there's also tons of recipes and formulas over there for you. Just at the $5 level, you have access to almost everything. And at the $5 level, you have access to every candle and wax melt tutorial that I've ever published. All right, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is just wipe down my containers here. I'm using these straight-sided amber colored jars I got from Uline. They are 8 ounces. And I just like to take a microfiber cloth along with some rubbing alcohol and just kind of get the outsides wiped down. They sometimes can be a little bit dusty when you open up the package. Just get these kind of wiped down, but I also like to wipe down the insides as well after I get this sort of cleaned off, especially the bottom where you're going to be adhering the wick. If there's dust or any debris on the inside of the candle, then the wax can have kind of a hard time adhering to the glass, which can contribute to poor glass adhesion. So you just want to make sure that they are wiped down, or you could always just run your batch of containers through the dishwasher the night before. Just make sure they're really dry, obviously, before you use them. So this is how I do it typically. And then I go in and I just wipe out the inside. I'm a little bit more careful with wiping out the inside just to make sure that there's no dust or debris. Actually, it also helps to keep the wick stuck down a little bit better as well. Obviously, if there's no debris on the bottom of the container or dust, your wick sticker is going to stick, have an easier time sticking. So I just spritz this down with rubbing alcohol. And then you can always go back and do the outside of the container again. Like after you're done pouring, you can really clean up the outsides of the containers again, so that your label sticks down and you have no smudges. Sometimes wax gets on the outside of the container. So anyway, this is what I do. I just get everything nice and wiped down. What's great about these containers from Uline is they are rated to hold really high heat, up to like 900 degrees, I think. So you don't have to worry that your candle is going to crack the glass or anything like that. All right, and then the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and put our wicks down. All right, so just like last time, I'm using the CDN4. CDN4 wicks, they cool. So once again, I'm using the CDN4 wicks, and the CDN series of wicks, they burn a little cooler. The wax that we're using today likes a cooler burn. So we are using CDN4 because size 4 is perfect for this vessel, and the CDN series, again, just burns a little cooler. And so we're just gonna remove these little wick stickers. I think I got this pack from Candle Science. It has a ton of wick stickers on it. So you just adhere it to the bottom of the wick tab, and then I just kind of eyeball this and get them as center as possible. I still also use, you guys have seen me, if you've been around for a while, you have also seen that I love to use an eraser on the end of a pencil to push the wick down. So we just go ahead and center it. And then I just take the end of a pencil eraser and then just sort of push it down to make sure it's stuck. Give it a good little tug and we're good to go. Candle making is one of my favorite things to do. I've never really lost my passion for candle making. Sometimes I'm like, I go through phases where I don't make a lot of candles, but I've always enjoyed it. I love practicing with new fragrances. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I really like the challenge of trying to make a really good fragrance, a really strong candle that has a good and strong scent throw is also something. When you get that correct, when you achieve that, it feels very satisfying, and it feels like a big achievement, because if you are into making candles, you know that that is really easier said than done. Getting a nice and strong scent throw is definitely easier said than done, and there's so many things, so many little things that can contribute to why you may or may not be getting a good hot throw. Sometimes candles can smell really good cold when they're not burning. You take off the lid and you smell it and they smell fantastic. And then you go to burn them and they barely smell at all. There's all kinds of little things that can affect the scent throw. Now, the things that are the biggest contributors are the type of wax you are using with the type of wick that you're using. That combination is very, very important to hot throw. If you're using the wrong wick, you are going to affect how the candle burns and how it smells while it's burning. So it's important to get that combination correct. Also, you want to choose a vessel that has a wide opening. That is going to give you a better hot throw as well, just because there's more area for the fragrance to come out while it's burning. A candle with a vessel with a little opening is not going to give you as good of a hot throw. So one of the strongest candles I ever made, and I have a video on this as well, I'll try to link it right here for you too. The strongest candle I think I ever made was made with a huge vessel. I would never sell them like on my website just because it would cost too much for people. I think the cost of the candle would be too high for people to purchase online. Maybe if I had like a brick and mortar shop, I would consider selling it. But even then it would be like a luxury type candle because it was so big. But the opening of the candle was probably about that wide. And that was the video where I showed you guys a candle made with dried botanicals. And I was running a little experiment on whether or not they would catch fire. If you haven't seen that video, I hope that you'll go and check it out after you watch this video, because I did thorough testing on it and I shared with you guys all the results. But anyway, the fragrance on that candle, the hot throw, was amazing. It was honestly like filled up the whole room. My house isn't very big, but it filled up, I would say, most of my house. It was awesome. So that one was made with a coconut blend wax and a fragrance oil I got from Brambleberry that I think I'm going to have to revisit here in the spring. But candle making is one of my favorite things to do. It's super relaxing. It's just a good outlet. Let me know below if you feel the same way. I know that it can also be a highly frustrating thing to do when things aren't going your way with it. And it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practice. You can do something with candles. Usually you start out with making them the way that, like maybe the website you purchased your supplies from tells you how to use a particular wax and gives you a wick guide on what size of wick to use with what size vessel. Usually you start there, right? And in theory, that should work, but it doesn't always. That's why you always have to do your testing, because different fragrance oils will affect your wax in a different way, a little bit differently. Some are gonna burn hotter, meaning you're gonna get a bigger flame, and some are gonna burn cooler because your fragrance oils definitely are comprised of different aroma chemicals that affect your wax and affect the way the candle burns. So always do your testing. As you know, that's really important, but I'd love to hear from my candle maker friends out there. Like, what is your favorite thing about candle making and what is your least favorite thing about candle making? I also really like just being able to create my own home fragrance. I've always loved taking raw materials and making something from them. It's just this fun and satisfying thing to do. So what once started out as a hobby for me, candle making has really, that was what I very first started out with, as a lot of you guys know, back in 2001, as an outlet, has turned into a full-fledged business. So yeah, you can turn your passion into a business if you desire. But again, you don't have to monetize everything either. If it's just something that you like to do, you know, sometimes turning it into a business can take away that joy. So it's all personal preference. Okay, on to the next step. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and just clip these wicks into place. These were purchased on Candle Science as well. There's all kinds of different little wick holders you can get too. This is just one variety. Some of them are a little bit better at centering, I think, than these. I've seen some, but you know, these last forever. So maybe one day I'll upgrade and get, I mean, I've thrown these in the dishwasher when they get wax on them. I just kind of take a baby wipe. Baby wipes take wax off really well, by the way. If you're using like a soy blend wax, baby wipes clean it up really well. So I just kind of wipe the wax off, and then I put these in the dishwasher after I clean off the residue, just to get them kind of grease free. And they've lasted forever. Like, I don't have a need to replace them at the moment, even though they're really not that expensive. I could probably just get the kind that I've looked at, but I really try to use things until they cannot be used anymore. Some of these are longer for wider vessels, but I'm trying to find my shorter ones. Okay, the next step is to melt down our wax. And I'm gonna chunk up this wax and I'm gonna be placing it in this roasting pot. Now, you guys have seen me use this before. This has a little bit of wax in here that I've been melting just on warm. But this is a Presto pot that we fashioned a little spigot onto it. And I like the Presto pot because you can set the temperature on it. And we want it to melt down to 200 degrees. So what I'm going to be doing is just chunking this up. Now, the Presto pot is a great option for people who are kind of mid-sized candle makers, meaning you don't sell massive quantities of candles, but you sell more than a little bit of candles. Whatever that means for you, this has been a great option. I know you can buy commercial melters that are bigger, but this was just an inexpensive way to melt kind of a larger quantity of wax. And for my space, it works perfectly. But what I'm doing is chopping up some soy bliss wax. This is a hybrid soy and paraffin blend. It's mostly soy. It's got a little bit of paraffin, and you can tell because it's got just a more smooth kind of, well, soy wax is very creamy, but it's a little bit more brittle, I would say. And a lot of times the soy wax comes in pellets, so you don't have to chunk it up like this. But this has a more, just a smooth kind of, a smooth and creamy appearance, where straight soy wax is a little bit more opaque. And I like this wax because it gives me great consistent results, and it's pretty inexpensive. It's not the cheapest wax out there for sure, but it's not the most expensive, and it also performs good. So when you take into consideration that you want people to come back and buy candles from you if you're selling them, a good performing wax is very important, something that's very consistent in its performance. I also purchased another wax. You can get this wax from Hive and Honey, which is where I got this wax. And I also have purchased another wax from Hive and Honey that I'm going to be experimenting with here pretty soon, probably next week or so, and I wanted to share that process with you guys as well. But I ordered a coconut blend wax from them, and I can't remember exactly the name of it or the exact blend at the moment, but I have had pretty good luck with coconut blended waxes in the past, so I wanted to give the one from Hive and Honey a try to see what the hot throw is like. So I'll be videoing that process and sharing my results with you guys as well. So just turning my Presso pot up to 200 degrees to get this all melted down. All right, that was 5 pounds of wax. So I'm going to melt a little bit more here, and I'll bring you back for the next step. I'm going to chunk up a little bit more and bring you back for the next step. Okay, so the wax is now all melted down. It's sitting at a little bit higher than 200 degrees, which is good because the temperature will drop when it hits into this pour pitcher here. But I'm just going to go ahead and start weighing off. I'm weighing off 36 ounces of melted wax. That's going to be 90% of the candle recipe is wax, and 10% of the candle recipe is fragrance oil. So I'm doing these 11 candles in 2 batches because my pour pitcher is not big enough to hold all 72 ounces of wax plus 8 ounces of fragrance, which is 80 ounces total. This is a 4-pound melt pot, so it won't hold 5 pounds. So I'm just going to split it up. Just a little bit more here. Perfect. And then I'm going to take a temperature read on this real quick. It is a little hot. I'm going to wait a minute for this to come down. It's sitting at right around 210. I'm going to wait for it to come down to right around 205-ish, and then we'll add in the fragrance. All right, we're ready to go ahead and add in the fragrance. Now today we're going to be using Cranberry Cobbler from Nature's Garden, and I'm using 4 ounces. It smells so good, you guys. Oh my gosh, it smells really good. It kind of has like a cranberry relish note to it, kind of a tart cranberry relish top note, and then it's got a really beautiful bakery note to it. It smells so good. But cobblers are a bit more tart than pies and stuff in general, I think, so it smells really good. That's a really good kind of holiday, traditional holiday kind of fragrance. Just giving this a little bit of a stir. You don't have to go crazy with the stirring. with this wax. Like with straight soy wax, you have to stir for a minute or two to get everything combined. With this wax, you just want to give it a stir to make sure everything's combined, but it doesn't take a lot of stirring. You just want to make sure the temperature is right around 200 degrees Fahrenheit to help the wax and the fragrance oil really bond and marry. Oh my gosh, my house is gonna smell so, so good. We're gonna go ahead and start the pouring process now. So when you pour, you wanna pour in between the glass and the wick. You don't wanna pour directly on the wick or directly on the glass. That can kind of interfere with glass adhesion. And you just want to try to do it in one steady pour if you can, without multiple stops and starts. I know sometimes that's not possible depending on where you are ending in the process. If you get a candle that's halfway full and you need to stop and refill. How do I want to do this? I'm going to do it this way. It also has a bit of a cinnamon note to it that I'm smelling now as it's warm. It smells so good. I love cinnamon fragrance. I know that might be kind of a hit or miss for people, and the only reason why I know it's kind of a hit or miss is because I used to sell a red hot cinnamon candle that I loved. But it wasn't a great seller. I had a few customers that really liked it, and that was about it. It didn't really appeal to the masses, but it was something that I really, really liked. Let me know in the comments if you've had fragrances that you have also really liked that did not appeal to your customers. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and refill this, and I'll bring you back for the second pour. All right, in goes the second half of the fragrance oil. Again, which is just 4 ounces of wax to 4 ounces of fragrance to 36 ounces of wax, making it a 90-10 ratio. I'm not sure if I've ever discussed fragrance load versus fragrance content. I think I did a long time ago explain the difference between fragrance load and fragrance content. You can make candles either way. So fragrance load is a general term that manufacturers use, and it basically means how much fragrance they know that their wax or anything that you're adding fragrance to can hold. Melt and pour soap, things like that. So if you are looking on a manufacturer's website and they say this particular wax can take a fragrance load of 10%, that means that they're calculating it at 110%. So meaning that it's not necessarily part of the actual recipe. It just means that's how much it can hold. They know that's how much it can hold. Now, fragrance content is how much fragrance is actually in your formula. So I go by fragrance content in my candle formulas. I didn't always do that. As a newer candle maker, I always went by fragrance load. And so that way you're always left over with a little bit more wax than you need, because you're making over 100% total. Let me know if you have any questions on that. It can be a little bit of a confusing concept. And also sometimes, see, like this is not going to fill up my last two. What this is 3, 6, 9, 10. This is not going to fill up my last, the 11th candle all the way. And that's okay because I also like to keep a little bit to myself. So I always burn my little half candles. Yeah, this is giving us about 25%. Now, based on the weight of your fragrance oil, because usually when you buy fragrance oils, you buy it by weight, so not volume. So that's why when you see fragrance oils, when you buy fragrance oils from your companies, you'll see that some of them are filled all the way up to the top of an 8-ounce container, and some of them are filled, 80% of the way to the top. So because they sell it by weight, not volume, and different fragrance oils have different weights per volume. So that being said, that's going to affect also exactly how much wax you're going to pour into your candles. If you have one that's a little heavier but not as voluminous, you're going to have less overall material to pour into your candles. So for instance, one that has more volume to it, this candle might be filled almost all the way to the top, depending. So this is always kind of it's very rare that you get exactly the right amount to pour into exactly the right amount of containers. So I always estimate for 11 candles, sometimes 12 when I'm making this batch, knowing that I might get 11 full candles and I might get halfway done with the 11th one, or even closer to 75%. This one is more typical of where it goes to about 25% of the candle. So we're going to allow these to set up, and then I'll bring you back when everything is set up and to show you the packaging and to give you a little sneak peek on my other two candles in my winter series. All right, everybody, it's the next day and we're ready to go ahead and trim these wicks, and I'm going to smooth out the tops a little bit and then label them. So this is a perfect example of what I was talking about yesterday. These are all different fragrances. This is the one that we did on camera yesterday, the Cranberry Cobbler. And like I said, we got 10 and a partial of an 11th one filled up, about a quarter. And then here are two other fragrances that I'll reveal in a minute, but we got a full 11 and then half of a 12th one filled up for this fragrance. And then we got a full 11 candles filled up for this fragrance. So it really does make a difference. The fragrance goes by weight, not volume, and some of them have more volume than others. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is just go ahead and I'm going to take these little clips off. I'm not sure, most of them don't look like they need to be smoothed down at all. Most of them already have a very smooth top. And the glass adhesion looks really good. I don't see any wet spots on here. Okay, just a few of these need to be smoothed down. So that's good. I'm just going to take my heat gun, and this one has a little bit of raised wax right there. Just taking my heat gun and smoothing down the top. There we go. And the rest of them look really good. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim my wicks now. So we're going to go just about a quarter of an inch. I always use like sewing scissors. All right, so it's time to go ahead and put some labels on these candles. We're first going to label the cranberry cream. Now on my labels, I just put what type of candle it is. And I put how many ounces, I put my website information, and then I put the fragrance notes. So the fragrance notes on this one are cranberry, orange, well, it's cranberry, orange zest, cinnamon, vanilla, and butter. So that cinnamon was really popping yesterday when I was melting down or combining the fragrance with the melted wax. And when it burns, hot throw. And when it burns, you can also pick up that cinnamon note. So it's a really nice fragrance. There's that label, super cute. And then the next one, I am calling this one Starlit Evergreen. And here is the label, very festive. And this is the fragrance notes on this one are pomegranate, mandarin, orange, pine, clove leaf, cinnamon, vanilla, and amber. It's a really good fragrance if you're familiar with the Nest, the NYC Nest brand. That's a duplication of that. So pretty popular fragrance, smells really good. It just smells kind of festive and nice. Kind of light and bubbly, has a little bit of an effervescence to it. And there's that one. Super cute. Okay. And then the last one is one that I'm going to be calling Winter Garden. And this one is sort of, I would say, a non-traditional kind of winter smell. It's got fragrance notes of fresh lime, menthol, Douglas fir, lavender, and eucalyptus. However, when I smell it, I'm definitely picking up the lime and menthol off the top notes. The Douglas fir and lavender are not as prominent. There's definitely some eucalyptus base note. It smells very green. So I guess that would be the Douglas fir note, but to me, mixed with these other fragrances, it smells more like greenery than it does actual like pine or Douglas fir. It doesn't smell Christmas tree-like at all. This is a strong one too. This is a very strong fragrance. Very clean and green smelling. In fact, you could probably use this fragrance and rebrand the name and carry this into the springtime as well. I would say this is a very fresh and green fragrance. And there you go. And here they are, all the beautiful winter and holiday candles. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up. Please remember to leave me some questions and comments below. That really means a lot to me. Share this video with a friend, and why not subscribe to my channel? All right, everyone, catch you on the next video. Bye. Keep shining.